Hello and welcome to the third edition of the Clarke Park Show. It's Thursday the 9th of January 2020, and yes, let's do the stats first because I've tried this twice and learned a lesson. It's all very well if you're just talking about whatever comes into your head, but if you're trying to remember stats to say on the video, it's so easy to forget them and it messes you up. And this is where you get take 1, take 2, take 3. This is now take 3 to see what I'm going to remember. I have other topics to share with you as well, but let's just do Fitbit before I forget what I've just digested checking out some emails. So I just received today from Fitbit my stats for the 31st of August when I first started using this to the 31st of December, and in that time I've walked 1,440,000 steps, more than that in that time, which is pretty impressive. And that was the equivalent of climbing the Eiffel Tower 3,441,000 times. So I thought that was pretty impressive. My eyes are heading up to my left as I'm trying to capture those images in my mind. I'd also walked 1,709 kilometers. I'd also burnt, do you know, I can't remember how many calories, but I just remember it was a lot. And I do remember it was the equivalent of doing 6,193 crunches. And I think it was also the equivalent of watching 67 feature films. I do remember that stat in terms of how many calories I burned. In terms of sleep, I averaged a sleep score of 75. That's on quality of sleep. It was 7 hours and 39 minutes per night in terms of my average there. In REM sleep, what was it there? In REM sleep, which is dream sleep, it was an average of, I think it was 1 hour and 35 minutes each night. And in deep sleep, it was 1 hour and 5 minutes per night. So I think overall that was a pretty good average on sleep and quality of sleep in terms of the exercise part and the climbing floors and the steps. And then I did actually get an email for the 2nd of January to say at that point I'd walked 1,184 kilometers, which is the equivalent of walking the length of Italy, which I thought was pretty impressive. And then I received my stats for, by the way, in my overall stats, my best day was 21st of September, 20,447 steps. And then for this week, I received for last week, which was my best ever week, where I'd walked more than 126,000 steps. I climbed 278 floors. I had my best walking day. I think it was more than 20,600 steps. And yeah, I also burnt an average of 2,818 calories a day. So there are probably more stats that I can't remember, but overall pretty impressive. Now I may have blinded you there with many stats, but it's just that it's fresh in my mind, and the topic there really is about measurement and motivation. If you see that measurement, and I like the idea, if you see the equivalent, what's it equivalent to? I quite like that system there of walking the length of Italy, or how many times I've climbed the Eiffel Tower, or how the equivalent to watching 67 feature films. I think it's really good to see things in context as well. And it's great to have that motivation where I'm not being forced into doing anything, I'm not being nagged into doing anything, but I'm being told about what I've done and what it's equivalent to. It really does motivate me, and I really like that system. And I'm thinking, in other areas of your life, especially as we're into early January, is what motivates you? What is motivating you to do the things that you said you were going to do, or to keep on doing those things that you said that you would do? What is it that motivates you to do that? And in business, what is it that measures you and motivates you to do more, or to keep on doing well what you're doing? And I just leave that there with you as something for thought. And as I said before, it'd be great to make this interactive and to get your feedback and comments, and we can help each other, support each other and share ideas. So that's it with fitness tracking, and I'm sure you have your own methods as well. My other topic is, yes, I had two other topics for the day. One is about contracts, both in consumer law and business law, because I really think there's some misunderstandings out there and a lot of things that we don't know. Many of us don't know, don't understand. And another thing that may be only relevant to a small number of you is sponsorship visas, because I'm learning something about that. And I think after the UK fully exits the EU at the end of December this year, that may become more relevant and topical, because maybe if you want to employ someone from what was previously an EU country, you may need a sponsorship visa, and it's quite a long, tedious, bureaucratic process that you do have to go through. So I think I've probably said enough about that. I'm just flagging it up, and maybe if you're aware of anything there, or you think it may become relevant, get in touch with me and we can have a conversation there. Back to contracts. It was something that first came onto my radar last year, but again, more recently, within the last week, it raised its head again. And that is because with consumer law, I think most people, they believe their rights are that you always have the right to cancel anything, and certainly within a certain period of time, which may vary, but there's EU law that stipulates the 14 days cooling off period. And most people believe that is what we all have. But when you look into the finer detail, there's a lot of exclusions, a lot of limitations around this. So in only certain circumstances, if you're buying online or away from the business premises, do you have that 14-day cooling off period of right to cancel. But if you actually buy directly from those business premises, you don't have those rights. You only have whatever the seller stipulates in the contract as to what your cancellation rights may be. And it may be that you have no cancellation rights. So it's my hair, I can see in the camera there. Or they may say you only have 24 hours or 48 hours to change your mind. So you really need to look into that. By the way, while I'm filming, you get the idea. I'm on a climbing lots of steps at the moment, which is why you may hear just a little bit of panting there. So be aware of that, about in consumer law, what your cancellation rights may be, what is in the contract, what you may see when you make the purchase, and check out the small print. And of course, after the UK exits the EU completely, that all may change anyway. Now, what I really want to get onto more is when it's business to business. But I think there's many of you out there, especially if you're a small business, you may not know this, and we discovered this, that I'm really surprised actually. This law applies to England and Wales, by the way. I don't know if it's the same for Scotland and Northern Ireland. But once you sign a contract for a business deal, which could be in any situation, whether it's purchasing a product, a service, or leasing, or lettings, anything like that, you have no right to cancel whatsoever. From the moment you sign, that's it. You forfeit any rights. And that company is under no obligation at all to change that, to rescind the contract or refund any money that you may have paid. So just be aware of that before you sign any contract, that you really have no change of mind rights whatsoever. But the other thing that really astonishes me is the fact that for business to business law, even if you say yes verbally, just verbally, nothing in writing, no contract, that constitutes an agreement. So if you're having a business conversation and you agree to something, that is taken as a contract that is binding, even with nothing in writing. And I contacted Trading Standards about this. This is what they told me. So just be aware that, you know, these things are about goodwill, and somebody of goodwill should really act in good spirit as well, and not really bind you to something if you haven't signed anything and you change your mind. But there are people that I think are less scrupulous, less really in the spirit of goodwill, that will hold you to something, and it's very difficult legally, and they know this, that it costs you a lot of money to challenge anything legally. So for those of you in business, just be aware about anything that you discuss or talk about or sign in business, and be aware that you really don't have any rights. And coming back to another part, if you're in business, is consumers. They do have a lot of rights when they purchase through a credit card or through PayPal, and be aware that quite often people don't contact you and they get a refund, and you get a message from PayPal or from a payment gateway like Stripe, and they tell you the money's been refunded, and it's a really tedious, it's a very bureaucratic process you have to go through, with lots of information, lots of evidence you have to submit to contest that particular refund. And by the way, these people can do it any time within 6 months. They can contest it for any reason at all, and they can make up a reason, and you have to have all the evidence to contest why that's wrong. And what I've also seen is that banks very much favour the consumer, the purchaser in these instances, and the odds are very much stacked against you as a business. So yeah, just be aware of all these things. This is what I've been learning along the way, and if you'd like to get in touch with me and discuss more about that, or give me your own experiences or feedback, then please do. I'll welcome that. But look, I see I've gone to 12 minutes now. I'm trying to keep these to a 10-minute video, so I think I've extended my time and my welcome. Some beautiful backgrounds you're seeing of the shops behind me, but I say thank you very much for watching. Have a great day, and speak to you again soon.